There comes a moment in every person's life when the greatest power you can access is found not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is the language of God, and when you learn to speak it fluently, your entire existence transforms. Right now, in this very moment, you are being called to understand something that most people spend their entire lives never grasping. The universe is trying to teach you that your words are not just sounds that disappear into the air. Your words are creative forces. Every single thing you speak carries an energy, a vibration, a power to manifest in the physical world. And here is what most people don't understand. When you speak unnecessarily, when you complain, when you gossip, when you argue, when you defend yourself constantly, you are literally creating more of what you don't want. Think about the last time you got into an argument. Think about how you felt the need to explain yourself, to make someone understand your position, to prove that you were right. What happened? Did it make things better? Or did it create more conflict, more tension, more separation between you and the other person? The truth is that most of the words that come out of our mouths are completely unnecessary. We talk because we are afraid of silence. We talk because we think our value comes from being heard. We talk because we have been conditioned to believe that if we don't speak up, we don't matter. But God, the universe, the infinite intelligence that runs through everything, operates in silence. Have you ever noticed that? The sun rises every morning without making a sound. The earth spins on its axis in complete silence. A seed transforms into a mighty tree without announcing its progress. The most powerful forces in nature are silent. And you, being made from the same substance as everything else in the universe, have access to that same silent power. When you keep your mouth shut, something miraculous happens. You stop scattering your energy. You stop giving away your power to situations and people that don't deserve it. You stop creating negative thought patterns that multiply in your experience. Instead, you become like a battery that is constantly charging. Your energy builds. Your clarity increases. Your intuition becomes sharper. You start to hear the voice of God within you, and that voice can only be heard in silence. Let me tell you something about the ego. The ego loves to talk. The ego wants to be right. The ego needs to defend itself constantly. The ego thinks that your worth is determined by how well you can argue, how cleverly you can respond, how effectively you can put someone in their place. But the ego is not who you really are. The ego is just a false identity that you have constructed over years of conditioning. And every time you speak from the ego, you are reinforcing a version of yourself that is limited, fearful, and separate from God. Your true self, the part of you that is connected to the infinite, has no need to prove anything. Your true self knows that you are already complete, already whole, already perfect exactly as you are. When you operate from this place, you don't feel the compulsion to fill every silence with words. You don't feel the need to correct everyone who is wrong. You don't feel obligated to share your opinion on everything. You simply exist in a state of peaceful awareness, and from that place, you attract everything you need. There is a story about a wise teacher who was constantly insulted by one of his students. Day after day, this student would say terrible things, trying to provoke a reaction. But the teacher never responded. He would simply smile and continue teaching. Finally, after months of this, another student asked the teacher why he never defended himself. The teacher replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The student said, "It still belongs to the person offering it." The teacher nodded and said, "Exactly. When someone offers me insults and I don't accept them, those insults remain with the person offering them." This is the power of silence. When you refuse to engage, when you refuse to defend, when you refuse to argue, you are not accepting the negative energy that others are trying to give you. You are keeping your vibration high. You are maintaining your connection to Source. You are living from a place of wisdom rather than reaction. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but what about standing up for myself? What about speaking my truth? What about setting boundaries? And yes, there are times when words are necessary. But here is the key. When you speak from a place of inner silence, your words carry a different quality. They are not reactive. They are not defensive. They are not meant to hurt or prove anything. They are simply clear expressions of truth, and truth needs no defense. When you are rooted in silence, you speak only when speaking will improve upon the silence. You speak from love, not from fear. You speak from wisdom, not from ego. And when you do speak, people listen because there is power in your words. There is authenticity. There is no hidden agenda. You are simply sharing what is true for you without needing anyone to agree or understand. God wants you to keep your mouth shut because God wants you to go within. Everything you are seeking is inside you. Every answer you need is already there. But you cannot hear it if you are constantly talking, constantly explaining, constantly defending, constantly broadcasting your thoughts to anyone who will listen. You have to get quiet. You have to create space. You have to stop filling every moment with noise. In that silence, something beautiful begins to happen. You start to realize that you don't need to control everything. You don't need to fix everyone. You don't need to make people understand you. You can simply be. And in that state of being, you become a magnet for miracles. Things start to work out without you having to force them. People start to respond to you differently. Opportunities appear that you never could have created through talking and planning and scheming. This is what it means to let go and let God. It doesn't mean being passive or giving up. It means trusting that there is an intelligence at work in your life that is far greater than your thinking mind. It means surrendering your need to control outcomes through words and manipulation. It means having faith that when you align yourself with the creative power of the universe, everything unfolds perfectly without you having to narrate every step of the process. Think about how much energy you waste explaining yourself to people who are never going to understand you anyway. Think about how much time you spend trying to convince others of your point of view. Think about how often you rehash old stories, old wounds, old grievances, keeping them alive through constant repetition. All of that is energy that could be used to create something beautiful in your life. All of that is power that you are giving away for free. When you practice silence, you are not bottling up your emotions. You are not suppressing your truth. You are choosing to process things internally before you express them externally. You are giving yourself time to connect with your higher self and ask, is what I am about to say necessary? Is it kind? Is it true? Will it improve the situation? And if the answer is no, you keep quiet. You save your energy. You maintain your peace. There is tremendous freedom in not having to have the last word. There is tremendous power in being able to hear someone criticize you without immediately jumping to defend yourself. There is tremendous wisdom in being able to observe a situation without feeling compelled to comment on it. This is mastery. This is spiritual maturity. This is what it means to be in the world but not of it. The more you practice silence, the more you will notice that most conversations are just noise. People talking to fill space, to avoid discomfort, to assert their identity, to seek validation. But underneath all that noise, there is a quietness that is always present. That quietness is God. That quietness is your true nature. And when you rest in that quietness, you begin to see that you never needed all those words in the first place. There is a beautiful practice you can start today. Before you speak, pause. Take a breath. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself, why do I want to say this? Am I speaking from love or from fear? Am I adding value or am I just reacting? That pause is where the magic happens. In that pause, you give yourself the opportunity to choose wisdom over impulse. You give yourself the chance to stay connected to source instead of getting pulled into drama and conflict. You will find that when you stop talking so much, people become curious about you. They wonder what you are thinking. They respect your presence more because you are not cheapening it with constant chatter. You become mysterious, powerful, grounded. This is not about playing games or manipulating others. This is about honoring yourself enough to not scatter your energy in every direction. And here is something else that happens when you embrace silence. You stop living in the past. Because every time you tell the story of how you were wronged, every time you complain about your circumstances, every time you explain why your life is the way it is, you are recreating the past in the present moment. You are using your words to keep old patterns alive. But when you stop talking about the past, when you stop identifying with your wounds, when you stop defining yourself by what happened to you, you create space for something new to emerge. God is always trying to give you a new beginning. God is always offering you a fresh start. But you cannot receive it if you are holding on to the old story with both hands and reciting it to everyone you meet. You have to let it go. You have to release it. And one of the most powerful ways to release something is to stop talking about it. Silence also protects you from saying things you will regret. How many times have you spoken in anger and wished you could take back your words? How many relationships have been damaged because you couldn't control your tongue? How many opportunities have been lost because you said too much or said the wrong thing at the wrong time? Your words have consequences. They create your reality. And when you speak carelessly, you create carelessly. But when you cultivate silence, you create a buffer between stimulus and response. Someone does something that triggers you, and instead of immediately reacting, you pause, you breathe. You observe your emotions without being controlled by them. And then, if you do choose to respond, you do so from a place of clarity and calm. This is emotional intelligence. This is spiritual strength. This is the mark of someone who has learned to master themselves. God wants you to keep your mouth shut because God wants you to become a conscious creator instead of an unconscious reactor. Most people are just reacting to life, bouncing from one situation to another, one conversation to another, one drama to another, never taking responsibility for the energy they are putting out into the world. But you are being called to something higher. You are being called to wake up. You are being called to recognize that you have a choice in every moment about how you respond to life. And silence is the foundation of that choice. When you are quiet, you can hear your intuition. When you are quiet, you can feel the guidance of the universe. When you are quiet, you can access wisdom that goes beyond your limited human understanding. But when you are constantly talking, you drown out that inner voice. You miss the signs. You ignore the synchronicities. You stay stuck in your small self instead of expanding into your infinite self. There is also a deep peace that comes from not having to explain yourself to everyone. You know who you are. You know what you value. You know what you are here to do. And you don't need external validation to confirm it. When you live from this place, you stop caring so much about what others think. You stop trying to control their perception of you. You simply live your truth and trust that the right people will understand and the wrong people don't matter. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant or uncommunicative. It means you become selective with your energy. It means you honor yourself enough to not cast your pearls before swine, as the old saying goes. You don't share your dreams with people who will mock them. You don't explain your choices to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You protect your inner world with the same care that you would protect a precious treasure, because that is exactly what it is. Silence also allows you to observe more. When you are not busy talking, you can actually see what is happening around you. You can read energy. You can pick up on subtle cues. You can understand people at a level that goes beyond words. This makes you wiser. This makes you more effective in your relationships. This makes you a better friend, partner, parent, leader, because you are not just waiting for your turn to talk. You are truly present. And presence is the greatest gift you can give anyone. When someone feels that you are fully there with them, not distracted, not formulating your response while they are speaking, but genuinely listening and holding space for them, it creates a connection that is rare and beautiful. Most people are so starved for this kind of attention that when they find it, they never forget you. You become someone they trust, someone they confide in, someone they value, simply because you had the wisdom to be quiet and listen. God speaks in whispers, not in shouts. If you want to hear the voice of God in your life, you have to create silence. You have to turn off the noise of the world. You have to stop filling every moment with entertainment and distraction and endless conversation. You have to be willing to sit with yourself, to be alone with your thoughts, to face whatever arises without running from it. This is not easy. Most people are terrified of silence because in silence they have to confront themselves. They have to feel the emotions they have been avoiding. They have to acknowledge the truth they have been denying. But on the other side of that confrontation is freedom. On the other side of that discomfort is peace. On the other side of that silence is the voice of God telling you exactly what you need to know. When you stop defending yourself, something miraculous happens. The right people will understand without explanation, and the wrong people will never understand no matter how much you explain. This realization alone can save you years of wasted energy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. You don't owe anyone a defense of your choices. You are accountable to God and to yourself, and that is enough. There is a profound strength in being able to stand in your truth without needing to convince anyone of it. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your worth is not determined by whether people agree with you or approve of you. There is a freedom that comes from releasing the need to be understood by everyone you meet. And all of this becomes possible when you embrace silence. Your mouth has gotten you into more trouble than almost anything else in your life. The arguments you started, the secrets you revealed, the judgments you expressed, the gossip you spread, the lies you told, the promises you broke. Your tongue has been like a wildfire, burning through relationships and opportunities and peace of mind. But it doesn't have to be that way anymore. You can tame your tongue. You can harness your words. You can choose silence as your default instead of speaking as your default. This is not about becoming mute or withdrawn or antisocial. This is about becoming intentional. This is about recognizing that your words are tools, and like any tool, they should be used with skill and purpose. You wouldn't use a hammer to brush your teeth, and you shouldn't use words to fill silence just because you are uncomfortable. Everything has its proper use, and silence has tremendous value that most people never tap into. When you practice silence, you also stop engaging in complaining. Complaining is one of the most destructive habits a human being can have. Every time you complain, you are focusing on what is wrong, and where your focus goes, your energy flows. You are literally creating more situations to complain about. But when you keep your mouth shut, when you refuse to vocalize every discomfort and inconvenience, you break that cycle. You stop feeding the negative pattern. You start to notice that things aren't actually as bad as you were making them out to be. Most of what we complain about is trivial. It is minor inconveniences that we blow out of proportion through constant repetition. But when you stop talking about them, they lose their power. They become what they actually are: small bumps on the road, temporary challenges, fleeting moments that have no bearing on your ultimate happiness and success. Your life is not defined by these small annoyances unless you define it that way through your words. God wants you to keep your mouth shut because God wants you to rise above the pettiness of human drama. God wants you to operate from a higher level of consciousness, where you are not dragged down by every little thing that doesn't go your way. God wants you to be so firmly rooted in peace that nothing external can shake you. And the way you develop that peace is through silence, through choosing not to react, through mastering yourself. There is also great power in secrecy, in keeping your plans and dreams to yourself until they manifest. When you announce what you are going to do before you do it, you often dissipate the energy you need to actually accomplish it. You get the satisfaction of people's reactions without doing the work. You open yourself up to doubt and criticism and unsolicited advice. But when you work in silence, when you build your dreams in private, you protect them, you nurture them, you give them time to grow strong before exposing them to the world. Think about a gardener planting seeds. They don't dig them up every day to check on their progress. They don't announce to the world exactly what they planted and when they expect it to bloom. They simply water the seeds, trust the process, and wait patiently for the harvest. This is how you should approach your goals and aspirations. Plant them in the fertile soil of your consciousness, nourish them with positive thoughts and consistent action, and trust that in the right time they will manifest. But don't talk about them. Don't seek validation. Don't invite opinions. Just work. Silence is also a form of self-respect. When you refuse to engage in pointless arguments, when you decline to participate in gossip, when you walk away from toxic conversations, you are saying to the universe, I value my peace more than I value being right. I value my energy more than I value winning an argument. I value my spiritual growth more than I value being included in drama. And the universe responds to that declaration by bringing you more peace, more energy, more growth. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you allow people to dump their problems on you, they will keep doing it. If you allow people to disrespect you with their words, they will keep doing it. But when you establish boundaries through silence, when you simply stop engaging with behavior that doesn't serve you, people get the message. They realize they cannot use you as an emotional dumping ground. They realize they cannot draw you into their chaos. And either they adjust their behavior or they remove themselves from your life, and either outcome is fine because you are committed to protecting your peace. God has given you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You are meant to listen twice as much as you speak. When you truly listen, not just with your ears but with your heart, you learn so much. You understand people's motivations, you perceive their pain, you recognize their potential. And from that understanding, you can respond with wisdom and compassion instead of judgment and reactivity. But most people never develop this skill because they are too busy formulating their response to actually hear what is being said. Real listening is an act of love. It says to the other person, "You matter, your words matter. I am here for you fully in this moment." And that kind of presence is so rare and so valuable that it can transform relationships, heal wounds, and build bridges between people who thought they could never connect. All of this comes from the simple act of keeping your mouth shut and giving someone your full attention. There is also wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Some battles are not worth fighting. Some people are not worth arguing with. Some situations will resolve themselves without your input. When you develop the discernment to know the difference, you save yourself enormous amounts of stress and frustration. You pick your battles wisely. You invest your energy where it will actually make a difference. And you release the need to comment on every situation that crosses your path. This discernment comes from practice. It comes from making mistakes, from speaking when you should have stayed quiet and staying quiet when you should have spoken. It comes from paying attention to the consequences of your words and adjusting accordingly. It comes from connecting with your inner guidance and trusting it more than your impulse to react. Over time, you develop a wisdom that knows instinctively when words are needed and when silence is more powerful. God wants you to keep your mouth shut because in that silence, you become a vessel for divine wisdom. When you are not cluttering the airwaves with your opinions and judgments and commentary, you create space for something greater to work through you. You become a channel for inspiration, for healing, for truth. People sense this about you. They feel that there is something different, something special, something authentic, and they are drawn to you not because of what you say, but because of who you are being. Your presence becomes your power, your energy becomes your message, and you realize that you never needed all those words in the first place. You were already complete. You were already whole. You were already connected to Source. The words were just a way of hiding from that truth, a way of avoiding the responsibility of being a conscious creator, a way of staying small and safe and comfortable. But you are not here to be comfortable. You are here to grow. You are here to evolve. You are here to remember who you really are and to express that in the world. And sometimes, oftentimes, the most powerful expression is silence. It is the pause between words where truth lives. It is the space of not knowing where wisdom emerges. It is the quiet confidence of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to give. So starting today, practice silence. Notice when you are about to speak and ask yourself if it is necessary. Notice when you feel the urge to defend yourself and choose to let it go. Notice when you want to fill the silence with small talk and resist that urge. Notice when you are about to complain or gossip or judge and bite your tongue. Each time you do this, you are building spiritual muscle. You are strengthening your connection to God. You are reclaiming your power. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel like you are missing out, like you are being excluded, like you are not being true to yourself. But push through that discomfort. On the other side of it is a peace you have never known, a clarity you have never experienced, a power you have never accessed. On the other side of it is the real you, the eternal you, the you that is one with all that is. And when you operate from that place, your life transforms. Your relationships improve, your health improves, your finances improve, your opportunities multiply. Not because you talked your way into success, but because you silenced your way into alignment. You stopped blocking the flow of good with your constant chattering and complaining and defending. You stepped out of the way and allowed God to work miracles in your life. This is the secret that the wise have always known. This is the practice that the mystics have always taught. This is the path that leads to liberation. Keep your mouth shut. Listen more, speak less, trust the process, have faith in the silence, and watch as your entire world begins to shift in ways you never thought possible. God is waiting for you in that silence. Your highest self is waiting for you in that silence. Everything you have ever wanted is waiting for you in that silence. All you have to do is stop talking long enough to receive it. Right now, in this very moment, something extraordinary is happening. You're here, you're reading these words, and that's no accident. There are no accidents in this universe. Everything that comes into your life, every person you meet, every book you read, every thought that crosses your mind, it's all part of a divine pattern. And if you're feeling that little stirring inside you right now, that sense that maybe, just maybe, there's something more you're meant to understand, then pay attention. Because that's not just a random feeling. That's the universe speaking directly to you. You see, most people go through their entire lives asleep. They wake up in the morning, but they're not really awake. They go through the motions. They do what they think they're supposed to do. They follow the path that others have laid out for them. They listen to the voices of their parents, their teachers, their society, telling them who they should be, what they should want, how they should live. And in all that noise, in all that external chatter, they completely miss the one voice that matters most. The voice within, the voice of their source, the voice of God. Now, when I say God, I'm not talking about some old man sitting on a cloud judging you. I'm talking about the creative intelligence that's behind everything. The force that makes your heart beat, that grows the grass, that moves the planets in their orbits. Call it whatever you want. Call it the universe, call it spirit, call it infinite intelligence, call it the Tao. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that this intelligence is real, and it's trying to communicate with you every single day of your life. But here's the thing, most of us don't know how to listen. We've been conditioned to look outside ourselves for answers. We think we need another degree, another relationship, another possession, another achievement before we can be happy. We think the answer is somewhere out there. And so we spend our whole lives searching, seeking, striving, always feeling like something's missing, always feeling like we're not quite enough. And then one day, if we're lucky, something happens. Maybe it's a crisis, maybe it's a loss. Maybe it's just a quiet moment when you're alone and you suddenly feel this overwhelming sense that there has to be more to life than this. That moment is grace. That moment is God tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, remember me? Remember who you really are? Because you see, you're not just a body that's going to die. You're not just your job title or your bank account or your relationships. Those are just the costumes you're wearing in this play called life. The real you, the eternal you, is so much more than that. You are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And the purpose of this experience isn't to collect as many toys as possible before you die. The purpose is to remember your true nature, to wake up, to realize that you and the source of all creation are not separate. You are one. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. That sounds nice, but it's just spiritual talk. What does it actually mean for my life? I've got bills to pay. I've got problems. I've got responsibilities. And I get it, I really do. But here's what you need to understand. When you start to align yourself with this truth, when you start to live from this awareness, everything changes. Not because your external circumstances necessarily change, though they often do, but because you change. Your perception shifts. And when your perception shifts, your entire experience of life transforms. You stop being a victim. You stop blaming other people for your unhappiness. You stop waiting for the world to change so that you can feel good. Instead, you recognize that you have the power to choose. In every single moment, you have the power to choose how you respond. You have the power to choose what you focus on. You have the power to choose what meaning you give to the events in your life. And this isn't positive thinking. This isn't about pretending that problems don't exist or putting on a fake smile when you're hurting. This is about something much more fundamental. This is about recognizing that your true self, your source self, is already whole. It's already complete. It's already perfect. And when you connect to that part of yourself, when you remember who you really are, you automatically start to operate from a different frequency. Think about it. When you're disconnected from your source, when you're living from ego, everything is a struggle. You're constantly worried about what other people think of you. You're constantly comparing yourself to others. You're constantly feeling like you need to defend yourself, prove yourself, protect yourself. Life becomes exhausting because you're trying to swim upstream. You're trying to force things to happen. You're trying to control everything and everyone around you. But when you're connected to your source, when you're living from spirit, life flows. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you're no longer resisting what is. You're no longer arguing with reality. You accept what is, and from that place of acceptance, you take inspired action. You trust that the universe has your back. You trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And from that trust comes a peace that passes all understanding. Now you might be wondering, how do I get to that place? How do I connect with this source? How do I hear God's voice? And the beautiful thing is, it's not complicated. In fact, it's so simple that most people miss it. They think they need to go somewhere special, do something special, become someone special. But the truth is, your connection to source is always there. It never went anywhere. You just forgot how to tune into it. It's like having a radio. The radio waves are always broadcasting. They're all around you all the time. But if your radio isn't tuned to the right frequency, you won't hear the music. And most of us have our radios tuned to the frequency of fear, worry, doubt, and negativity. That's what we're bombarded with all day long. The news tells us to be afraid. Advertising tells us we're not good enough. Social media tells us everyone else has a better life than we do. And we absorb all of that, and we wonder why we feel anxious and depressed and disconnected. But you can change the channel. You can tune your radio to a different frequency. And you do that through your thoughts, through your words, through your actions. You do it by becoming aware of what you're putting out into the world. Because here's a universal law that never fails. You get what you put out. If you're putting out fear, you'll get more things to fear. If you're putting out love, you'll get more love. If you're putting out gratitude, you'll get more things to be grateful for. This isn't magic. This is how the universe works. Your thoughts create your reality. Not someday, not eventually, but right now. In every single moment, you are creating your experience through your consciousness. And when you really get this, when you really understand that you are the creator of your life, not the victim of it, everything changes. Now, let me tell you something that might surprise you. God isn't trying to reach you with some big dramatic sign. God isn't going to send you a burning bush or write a message in the sky. That's not how it works. The way God reaches you is through the still, small voice within. It's that intuition you feel. It's that gut feeling that tells you to call someone, to take a different route, to say yes to an opportunity even though it doesn't make logical sense. It's that sense of knowing that comes from beyond your mind. And here's the thing about that voice. It never shouts. It never demands. It never uses fear to motivate you. That's how you know it's not your ego talking. Your ego loves to shout. Your ego loves to tell you everything that could go wrong. Your ego loves to remind you of your past failures and predict your future catastrophes. But the voice of Spirit, the voice of God, it whispers, it gently guides, it suggests, and it always, always points you toward love, toward growth, toward your highest good. But most of us never hear it because we're too busy, we're too distracted, we're too caught up in the drama of our lives. We've got our schedules packed from morning to night. We've got our phones constantly buzzing with notifications. We've got our minds constantly racing with thoughts about the past and worries about the future. And in all that noise, in all that busyness, we completely miss the present moment. And the present moment is the only place where God exists. The present moment is the only place where life exists. Everything else is just a story we're telling ourselves. So if God is trying to reach you, if the universe is trying to communicate with you, the first thing you need to do is slow down. You need to create space for silence in your life. You need to spend time alone, without distractions, without entertainment, without anything to occupy your mind. Just sit, just be, just breathe. And in that stillness, that's when you'll hear it. That's when you'll feel it. That presence that's always been there, waiting patiently for you to remember. And when you start to make contact with that presence, when you start to feel that connection, your life will begin to transform in ways you never thought possible. Because you'll start to realize that you've been asking the wrong questions. You've been asking, how can I get what I want? How can I be successful? How can I be happy? But those are ego questions. Those questions assume that happiness is something you need to achieve, that success is something you need to attain, that fulfillment is something outside of you that you need to acquire. But the real questions are different. The real questions are, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And when you ask those questions from a place of genuine curiosity, when you're willing to listen for the answers, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start to understand that you didn't come to this planet to accumulate things or to impress people or to play it safe. You came here to express the divinity that you are. You came here to share your unique gifts with the world. You came here to love and be loved. You came here to grow, to learn, to evolve. And every single experience you've ever had, every challenge, every setback, every disappointment, it was all preparing you for this moment. It was all teaching you what you needed to learn. It was all shaping you into who you're meant to become. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was a mistake. It was all part of the divine plan. And if you can look back at your life with that perspective, if you can see how even the painful experiences served your growth, then you'll start to trust. You'll start to have faith that whatever is happening right now, no matter how difficult it seems, is also serving your highest good. But here's where most people get stuck. They say, okay, I understand all this spiritually. I believe in a higher power. I believe there's a purpose to my life. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm waiting for a sign. I'm waiting for clarity. And what I want to tell you is, stop waiting. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Because you know what? You're never going to feel completely ready. There's never going to be a perfect time. The clarity doesn't come before you take action. The clarity comes through taking action. When you start moving in the direction of your heart, when you start following that inner guidance, even when it doesn't make sense to your rational mind, that's when doors start opening. That's when synchronicities start happening. That's when the right people show up at the right time. That's when resources you need become available. But none of that can happen when you're sitting on the sidelines, waiting for guarantees. You see, faith isn't about knowing how things are going to work out. Faith is about taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. Faith is about trusting that when you align yourself with your purpose, with your passion, with your truth, the universe will support you. Not necessarily in the way you expect, not necessarily in the timeline you prefer, but always in the way that's best for your soul's growth. And let me tell you something else. Your purpose isn't some grand, complicated thing that you need to figure out. Your purpose is simple. Your purpose is to be yourself. Your authentic, real, uncensored self. Not the version of you that you think you should be. Not the version that will please your parents or impress your friends or fit society's expectations. But the real you. The you that exists underneath all the conditioning, all the programming, all the limiting beliefs. That version of you already knows what to do. That version of you already has all the answers. That version of you is connected to infinite intelligence. But you've covered it up. You've buried it under layers of fear and doubt and unworthiness. And the journey back to yourself, the journey back to God, is really just a process of removing those layers. It's a process of letting go of everything that isn't you, so that what remains is your true essence. And I want you to know something. That essence, that core of who you are, it's magnificent. It's beautiful beyond words. You are not here by accident. You are not some random collection of atoms that happen to come together. You are a deliberate creation of the universe. You are here for a reason, and that reason is important. It matters. You matter. But you're not going to feel that. You're not going to know that if you're constantly comparing yourself to others. If you're constantly judging yourself by external standards of success. If you're constantly looking for validation from the outside world. Because that's a game you can never win. There will always be someone richer, prettier, smarter, more accomplished. And if your worth is tied to those external measures, you'll always feel like you're falling short. But when you root your identity in your connection to Source, when you know yourself as a spiritual being, then nothing outside of you can diminish you. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anything to be different than it is for you to be okay. Because you already are okay. You're more than okay. You're perfect exactly as you are in this exact moment, with all your flaws and imperfections and wounds. In fact, those wounds, those broken places, they're often your greatest gifts. They're the places where the light gets in. They're the experiences that give you compassion, empathy, understanding. They're what allow you to connect with others on a real level, because we don't connect through our perfection. We don't connect through our highlight reels. We connect through our humanity, through our vulnerability, through our shared struggles. So if you've been through hard times, if you've made mistakes, if you've failed, if you've been hurt, if you've been lost, know that none of that disqualifies you. None of that makes you unworthy. In fact, it's often through those experiences that we finally wake up. It's often when we hit bottom that we finally look up. It's often when everything falls apart that we finally let go of our illusions and surrender to what is. And surrender doesn't mean giving up. Surrender doesn't mean being passive. Surrender means letting go of your need to control. It means trusting that there's a larger intelligence at work. It means understanding that you don't have to figure everything out by yourself. You're not alone. You've never been alone. You're always being guided, always being supported, always being loved. But you have to be willing to receive that guidance. You have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to admit that you don't have all the answers. And for many of us, that's the hardest thing. We've been taught to be independent, to be strong, to handle everything on our own. We've been taught that asking for help is a sign of weakness. But that's backwards. True strength is in knowing your limits. True strength is in being humble enough to admit when you need support. And when you ask, really ask, from a place of genuine openness and humility, the answers come. They might not come in the form you expect. They might not come immediately, but they always come. Sometimes it's through a conversation with a stranger. Sometimes it's through a book that falls into your hands. Sometimes it's through a dream. Sometimes it's just a feeling, a knowing, an inner certainty about what you need to do next. But you have to be paying attention. You have to be present. You have to be willing to see the signs, because they're everywhere. The universe is constantly communicating with you through everything around you, through nature, through art, through music, through other people. Everything is a mirror reflecting back to you what you need to see. And if you're in a difficult situation right now, if you're struggling, if you're in pain, I want you to consider this. What if this situation is exactly what you need? What if this challenge is here to teach you something essential? What if this difficulty is actually an opportunity in disguise? What if God is trying to reach you through this very circumstance, trying to show you something about yourself, trying to help you grow into the person you're meant to become? I'm not saying that bad things are good. I'm not saying that suffering is fun. But I am saying that everything can be used for your benefit if you're willing to look at it differently. If you're willing to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? What is this situation revealing to me about myself, about my patterns, about my beliefs? Because often, our most painful experiences are our greatest teachers. They force us to question everything. They strip away what's not essential. They show us what really matters. And on the other side of that pain, if we're willing to go through it rather than around it, we emerge stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more authentic. And that's really what God wants for you. Not comfort, not an easy life, but growth, expansion, evolution, the fulfillment of your potential, the expression of your unique purpose. And sometimes that requires going through fire. Sometimes that requires facing your fears. Sometimes that requires letting go of what you thought you wanted so you can receive what you actually need. But here's the beautiful thing. You're equipped for this. You have everything you need within you to handle whatever life brings. You might not think you do. You might feel weak or inadequate or unprepared. But that's just your ego talking. Your true self, your spirit, it's infinitely powerful. It's infinitely creative. It's infinitely resourceful. And when you tap into that power, when you connect with that source, there's nothing you can't handle. And the way you tap into it is through your presence. It's through your awareness. It's through taking time every single day to go within, to sit in silence, to connect with that still point inside you where God dwells. It doesn't have to be for hours. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a profound difference. Just sit. Just breathe. Just allow yourself to be with whatever is arising without trying to fix it or change it or understand it. And in that space, you'll start to notice something. You'll start to notice that there's a part of you that's observing your thoughts. There's a part of you that's witnessing your emotions. There's a part of you that exists beyond all the drama of your life. That's your true self. That's the eternal you. That's the part of you that was never born and will never die. That's the part of you that's connected to everything. And when you rest in that awareness, when you identify with that observer rather than with your thoughts and emotions, you'll find a peace that nothing in the external world can disturb. You'll find a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. You'll find a love that's unconditional. And that's what you've been searching for all along. Not out there in the world, but right here within yourself. You see, the kingdom of heaven isn't some place you go after you die. The kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness. It's available right now. It's here. It's always been here. You've just been too distracted to notice it. You've been too busy chasing things that can never satisfy you, running from things that can never really hurt you, trying to control things that were never yours to control. But now you have a choice. You can continue on that path. You can keep doing what you've always done. You can keep listening to the voices of fear and limitation. You can keep playing small. You can keep pretending